Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Freddy's Ready podcast. This is episode, I believe, 17. I believe 17, 16, one of the two. You know what I mean? It's been a while. It's been a while. I know. It's definitely been a while. We've been kind of slacking off on the preparations and actually getting down to filming, which is on my end, but we have had some very fun and exciting playoffs as well as sports because I believe last time we talked, we were in the middle of the regular season for football, and then now we're in the playoffs. We're heading into the divisional round, where a lot of teams are here who we didn't think were going to be here to begin with, right? Some teams got hot, some teams ended off not so hot, some teams started off really poorly and ended up becoming a juggernaut. So we're going to dive right into all that and kind of recap everything, you know what I mean? But I did want to cover the NFL playoffs first. I did want to cover um the wild card round. So first I wanted to talk a little bit about the Rams and Panthers, which is a crazy game, especially because I had the Rams kind of blowing out the Panthers. I originally thought the Rams were going to come in and take care of business, which it definitely did seem like that heading into the half before Puka made that big drop. Carolina took advantage of the Rams' poor time management, I would want to say, in that second quarter, especially because the Rams were going to get the ball in the second half. So it definitely did surprise a lot of people. Surprised me. I would have thought Rams probably would have won by 2 possessions by bare minimum. I didn't think the Panthers had a chance to have a potential game-winning drive on their hands, which they did, which is crazy. But, I mean, Panthers came to play. First of all, Rams won 34-31 in Carolina, but Panthers came to play. When you look at it, Bryce Mitchell was really the question here, and it was about Carolina not really having the talented roster enough to compete with the Los Angeles Rams, especially when you look at they finished 9-8. I mean, when you finish 9-8, I'm sorry, I don't even think they finished 9-8. I think it was a little worse that they finished under 500. I think they were 89, whatever. So when you finish 89 and you're playing a 12-5 team who was arguably the hardest division of football, which is the NFC West, you're not really expecting them to put up a good fight, right? Even though they did beat them in the regular season, you would have thought, okay, you know what, it's just one of those weeks. But with the week of preparation, with the Rams playing the way they've been playing the last couple of weeks, you would think, hey, you know what, Rams are gonna come in, take care of business. That defense is gonna come assert their dominance. Matthew Stafford playing at MVP level was gonna come in and just deal, right? And it did seem like that, like I said in the beginning. But Bryce Mitchell has definitely taken that extra step. And it's crazy when you look at how close he was to being written off as a starting quarterback in Carolina. Certainly, after being picked number 1 coming out of Alabama, which is arguably one of the best quarterbacks Alabama has had in the recent years that hasn't won a championship, he was, even since high school when he was at Mater Dei, was seen as a very good quarterback. Very good quarterback, came into the league, very undersized, but it was a good quarterback nonetheless. And he just had those 2-3 years where it was very up and down. The games fluctuated, his stats fluctuated, opinions definitely were flying, some scrutiny was definitely thrown around, and people were questioning if he was going to be able to be the starting quarterback heading forward. And you wouldn't be called crazy if you did think there was to be another quarterback coming in, right? Got benched for Andy Dalton last year. So it wasn't definitely crazy. But when you look at it, he had a good game. Stat line 21 for 40 out of completions, 264 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 carries for 26 yards, including that one big touchdown run. That really was like a 15-yard run. But one thing that I didn't notice about the Panthers that is eye-opening and what I say hopeful for the future is Satoria McMillan. Pardon me if I pronounce his name wrong. McMillan is the future superstar of the league. No doubt in my mind. He was making big catches after big catches, big catch after big catch whenever they needed a big catch, right? He answered the call every single time the Panthers needed a big play to stop the Rams' momentum on defense or to just get their momentum going, right? And his stat line was 5 receptions, 84 yards, 16.2 average, which is bonkers, right? Although he was the guy that did flash, the main guy who did come out to play was Coker, for the Panthers. 9 receptions, 134 yards, 1 touchdown. And I mean, when you look at the Panthers, they do got some weapons, right? They got that dual running back threat out of the backfield with Ricky Dotto and Chuba Hubbard. You have McMillan, you have Coker. Obviously, that running back duel might not be there again, as there was some comments speculating and some interviews going around where Dodo wasn't too happy losing his starting spot, as Chuba Hubbard came in when he was hurt and just balled out. But ultimately, you can look back and say either Rams didn't play the way they should be playing, or Carolina just balled out. Because Stafford went 8 for 8, if I'm not mistaken, out of the game. Then after halftime, he really struggled to get the ball going. He really struggled to move down the field. 3 and outs, 3 and outs, 3 and outs. But the Panthers did shoot themselves in the foot too much early on. They had that crucial pick. They had, I believe, a fumble. They were just turning the ball over, missing throws left and right, couldn't get anything going. And it wasn't until that Puka Nacua drop that allowed them to kind of say, you know what, we're in this game. Because going into the half, if the Rams would instead of going in for a 4th down in the red zone, where Stafford scrambled out of the pocket, threw a ball in the grass, right, the turf. Instead of kicking the field goal, which would have made it a 20-7 game, they decided let's go for it and hoping, extend the drive. Panthers took over on downs, 17-7. Panthers score a touchdown. They go into half 17-14. So right at the bat, you're saying, hey, we're only up by 3 points instead of being up by potentially 3 possessions or 2 possessions, right? So the Rams did show great resiliency, and the guy that you have to point at that is Matthew Stafford. Like I mentioned earlier, battling tough stretches in the second half where he couldn't really get the ball going. He was many times missing open throws. He wasn't making the right reads. He tried targeting, I believe, Davante Adams like 4, I think in 1 3-and-out or 1 on 4 possessions. They threw the ball to him 3 times. Neither of them were catches. So he did have some adversity to go through, and he did battle through, which is actually really good for him, especially MVP quarterback, 37 years old. It's not very hard, not very easy to come back, especially when your body's probably more beat up than usual. And his stat line was great. 304 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, or 1, and I think 1 interception, yes. So another thing I grabbed for this is Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua, 10 receptions, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns, which includes 1 receiving and 1 rushing. That guy's a monster. A monster. When he's out there running routes and especially after he catches the ball, he's just such a big running back. Big wide receiver. Very stocky, fast. So when he gets the ball and he's bouncing off defenders left and right, you have to kind of question a lot of things. Is he the best wide receiver in the league? You could certainly make the argument, A lot of people would have him in that argument, and obviously Davante Adams coming back did benefit him a lot, as Davante Adams had 5 receptions, 72 yards. And they did target Adams a lot in that game. I believe he had just as much targets as Puka Nacua, or maybe a little less, or maybe a little more. But Davante Adams definitely made a big factor in this game. And now that raises the question, did the Rams not play to their expectations? Because they had Davante and they went toe-to-toe with the Carolina team. And when we go back and sit back, we could just kind of say that Panthers did play really well. They didn't really shy down from the moment. Bryce Young came out to ball out. So it necessarily wasn't a bad game for the Rams, but it wasn't a great game either. I just think it was a great game for the Panthers. Great second half, great second quarter, I want to say. Great 3 quarters of football, excluding the first, right? And yeah, Rams move on to the divisional round. And then we also had Packers and Bears. Oh, what a great game. What a great game. So Green Bay 27, Chicago 31. What is one of the best comebacks I've seen in a long time. You raised an 18-point lead in the second half. So, funny story. Not funny, but it's whatever. I believe in the half they were up 18 points. I had a migraine, whatever. I went to bed, I knocked out, cool. I woke up, checked the score, it was all of a sudden a 1-possession game. And I was like, how is it a 1-possession game? Packers couldn't get the ball going, right? And when you look at it from a critical perspective, yes, people are tending to blame Jordan Love when I don't think you can blame Jordan Love, especially because 4 touchdowns, 0 picks, 325 yards. He played very well, right? And especially with that young wide receiver core with Dobbs, 8 receptions, 124 yards, Golden, 4 receptions, 84 yards, Jaden Green, 4 receptions, 43 yards, Watson, 3 receptions, 36 yards, all with a touchdown apiece, right? And by the way, the average age of that receiving core is 25. No one is older than 26 years old in that core. So right away, you're a bright future, right? Very bright future. But one thing I couldn't help but notice is the Packers' lack of running the football in the second half. First half, especially in that first quarter, you could see they were running the ball down the throat with Josh Jacobs. But then all of a sudden, second half, they could not get the ball going. And credit to the Bears defense for definitely stepping up, as well as Caleb Williams. We'll get into it a little bit. But the Packers, it's hard to pull a lead like that, especially when you have an 18-point lead. You have a roster like you do. The defense gave you a good first half of football, so you can't necessarily blame their defense too much because they are already depleted without Micah Parsons, that quarterback pressure. So it is very difficult for that defense to sustain and contain a quarterback that is that good, like Caleb Williams, for 4 quarters of football. And it was more or less Packers not getting the drives they needed, right? And then as well as the crucial drops for the Packers, you had just poor level of football. Poor football. I believe. Oh, not to mention the kicker missing, I believe, 7 points worth of kicks. So yeah, I'm surprised that guy got on a plane going home, right? But then when you flip the script to the Bears side, the only thing I could think of is resiliency, because this team has oftentimes been trailing in the fourth quarter and they end up winning the game, which is crazy, right? When you think about that. So this team does not care what the score is, whether it's the fourth quarter, third quarter, second quarter, first quarter. They do not care what the score is. Ben Johnson has done a magnificent job coaching that team, building in a good culture. As they don't play four quarter. How do I explain this? They don't look at it as let's win all 4 quarters. Let's win the first quarter. Then we'll win. We'll see if we win the second quarter, and then we'll try to win the third quarter. And then they don't really care about, hey, let's get this many points. No, this is about let's win the quarters, right? Win the quarters, right? And you can see it because they're blowing up in that fourth quarter with the mentality of our offense is as lethal as anybody's in the league. When you have Colton Loveland, who is, in my opinion, their number one option over any receiver they have, Ozunde or more, he's the number one guy. 8 receptions, 137 yards. That's the guy. You have Caleb Williams, who has arm talent that's arguably the best in the league. With obviously you put him up there with Mahomes, Josh Allen, other quarterbacks. 361 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and he did throw 2 picks, which I believe he had like a 50-something% completion ratio, which obviously that has been the one critic and reason for Caleb Williams to have criticism is because his ability to not complete passes at a high percentage. But got the job done, right? His legs, his ability to scramble out of the pocket and make throws that remind you of just all-time greats, right? They remind you of Aaron Rodgers' throws. They remind you of Lamar Jackson's speed with Patrick Mahomes' arm talent. It's ridiculous to see it. You have DJ Moore, 6 receptions for 64 yards and a touchdown, right? So this offense is explosive day in and day out. That's my conclusion from this game. Is this offense is just can put up 40 on anybody. Now, the one question I have for the Bears going into the divisional round against the Rams is, can their defense hold up? Because the Rams aren't going to allow you to really put 45 on them, right? They're not going to really allow you to put 50 on them, put 38. Their defense is good by Jared Verse, Young, and other Ford. They have the conductor. So they have all these guys on defense that could just make plays. Whereas on offense, it equates. They have the same amount of talent on offense as the Bears do. They said the tight ends, I would say, but this is where it gets a little more difficult. They don't have necessarily the talent or the name at tight end position, but they have the schemes and the schematic strategy. They run more, I believe, 2 tight ends every formation. They have good receivers in Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua. They got Higbee. They got Ferguson. They got all these guys who can make plays. Whereas the Bears, you got Ozunde, Moore, Colton Loveland. You got, who's that running back out of them? Oh my God, I just froze on the Bears' running back. Crazy, can't believe it. Anyway, but yeah, solid running back. I completely froze. I completely forgot who the running back is. Also, it's Swift. I believe it's Swift. Yeah, Swift. So they got a good offense, right? And it's just about, can they keep the game relevant and can keep the game playable? Can they let the Rams, yes, score points, but not blow the game out the gate? Fourth quarter, they're down by 21, and you have Matthew Stafford and all these guys on offense. Whereas Jordan Love, they also blew that lead, but Tucker Kraft, looking like a number 1 tight end in football for a little bit, tore ACL. Micah Parsons, torn ACL. So, yes, the Packers are playing with the deficient roster, but now that's switched with the Rams. The Rams have equal as talented roster on the offensive end and a much more talented roster on the defensive end. So it's definitely going to be interesting, that game, which we'll kind of go over and get my prediction on that a little later. But let's keep it in the NFC and jump into that Niners and Eagles game, which just blew my mind. I mean, what an upset. I had the Eagles winning this game as well. I had the Eagles winning. I mean, Niners definitely stole one in Philly, right? The Niners just were extremely compromised this whole season. Kittle, torn ACL. I mean, Achilles, my fault. Fred Warner, broken ankle. Nick Bosa, torn ACL. You had all these, their linebackers are their fifth, sixth, and seventh linebackers of the year. Like, that's crazy to think about, right? They lost Drake Greenlaw in the offseason. They lost Hufanga. They lost all these guys, these talented names on defense. And yet again, they're operating at a high level. And that just tips your cap to Robert Saleh, who's done a magnificent job as the defensive coordinator. Although Purdy did throw 2 picks, and that's what's going to hurt the Eagles more, is that they were allowed Purdy to make mistakes on offense. They still battled back. They still did really well. They were able to keep the game close. Their defense definitely stepped up. Even though they got 0 pressure on Jalen Hurts, which is absolutely ridiculous to say for a team that won and held the Eagles to 19 points, and getting 0 pressure on the Eagles is ridiculous. That offense, Christian McCaffrey, my goodness gracious, he is a man amongst boys, right? A man amongst men, I believe the saying is, whatever. But he does everything for that team. I believe he led that team in receiving yards. He led that team in rushing yards. He caught a touchdown. He ran. He's just everywhere for the Niners. And unfortunately, everybody else is getting hurt, so it asked him to do more. The bargain grows higher and higher and higher. But he's living up to it. He definitely is, and he's helping Brock Purdy a lot, which is crazy. And that's where the Eagles had the issue, is they couldn't contain Christian McCaffrey, and they couldn't get Saquon Barkley going. Saquon was getting stuffed at the line of scrimmage for a long time, especially in that second half, could not get anything going on the field. And I know there's a lot of criticism going to Jalen Hurts' passing ability because, I mean, 168 yards in a playoff game like that isn't really the best. But if I'm going to be 100% honest, it's A.J. Brown and that coordinator got to get out. And I already know that Kevin Tula got fired already, so he's gone. A.J. Brown needs to be gone because every game, every week, it seemed like there was something going on in the media. Big crucial drops to A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown had a ton of crazy drops. 3, he had one in that fourth quarter. He had a couple that were right there heading towards the red zone, dropped them. Devontae Smith, big drop. So, yes, we could point the finger at Jalen Hurts and kind of criticize him, but I don't think that's accurate. I don't think it's a valid argument. I believe the argument would rather be with the offensive coordinator and with the players with the receiving core because, I mean, come on. You got to catch the ball. Especially if it hits you in the hand and you're wide open, you got to catch the ball. Especially if you're the one complaining, right? And then I didn't get to read McCaffrey's stat line, but 15 carries, 48 yards, 6 receptions for 66 yards, and 2 receiving touchdowns. So he's everywhere. Rushing the football, catching the football, and getting in the end zone. Therefore, that issue and those problems for the Eagles is just not going to continue to the next offseason. I feel like you can't allow that if you're the coach. If you're the owner, you cannot allow that to happen. You ship him out, get some picks, get a good little player, do what you got to do, bolster up that offensive line again if you want, whatever. Just got to get A.J. Brown out of there. He's a magnificent talent. Don't get me wrong. He's one of the most talented wide receivers of football. But it's just that's not clicking with him and Jalen Hurts, right? So Niners advance to face the Seattle Seahawks in the divisional round. So now as we shift our focus to the AFC, Jacksonville and Buffalo, which was crazy, 27-24 Buffalo. And the definition of back and forth football, when you look at it, in the fourth quarter, there was 4 lead changes, which I believe tied a postseason record. Josh Allen continued to depress everyone. First of all, secured his first playoff victory. Hats off to him. 273 passing yards for a touchdown, 33 rushing yards for a touchdown. And he played lights out. And I've had him in that role for about a year now, but I think it's much more notable and known around the league that he's the best player in football and the best quarterback in football. Because how are you going to be the favorite going into Denver, the number 1 seed, when you have no great receivers? Your running game is good. It's best in the league technically, but it got shut down last game. And your defense is a liability. And you're going against one of the top defenses in the league and a high-power offense of Bo Nix, Sutton, Harvey, and all those guys. And you're favored. It's 17. That's why. Josh Allen has single-handedly transcended that organization. He single-handedly allowed Buffalo to become a favorite. And it's truly it's truly amazing to see, right? You see all these different opinions about Buffalo, about, oh, they need to win this year. Oh, they need to do this year. They need to, because Mahomes, Lamar. But they need to look at it. Allen doesn't have anybody on his team, right? Allen does not have a single good person on that team besides James Cook, right? I believe I saw a stat today or a little article. Six of his receivers are hurt. Four of them one of them was a trade deadline pickup. Another one got benched 4 weeks out of the year or whatever. It's just crazy what he's working with. He's operating at a high level with obviously deficient tools compared to everybody else. And it's just, can he carry that momentum going forward into Denver? Correct, right? And then for the Jags, I mean, it's a great season coming to an end. On average game, Trevor Lawrence, 207 passing yards, 18 for 13, for 30 completion, 3 passing touchdowns, 2 picks. He just simply got outplayed, right? I just think Josh Allen played much better than him. Trevor Lawrence didn't have the game he probably wanted to have, but he just got outplayed. Especially the defense that Buffalo did showcase was great because they did step up and support Josh Allen. That's the question going into the next game, which we'll get into. And when you look at it, Bills look like playoff contenders, which they were coming in, but they also look like favorites coming out. That's if the defense can make some stops. And then we shift over to the Patriots and Chargers, which I don't want to say was a boring game, but I definitely don't want to say it was a very high power game. I mean, both quarterbacks getting sacked more equal. I mean, 5 or more times. Drake May 5 times, Justin Herbert 6 times. Justin Herbert's offensive line was just atrocious the whole time. He was getting hit left and right. Justin Herbert, that fractured hand, fumbling the football. Justin Herbert was going in there with a lot, right? Didn't play his best game, which, I mean, it's hard to play when you get sacked 6 times. Patriots defense and Chargers defense both stepped up. Both those teams kept it close until ultimately Patriots started scoring. Get it going. Drake May got it going. Diggs got it going. Darmian Stevenson got it going. Travion Henderson. All those guys got it going, right? Patriots got a very talented offensive staff. They got it going. They ended up winning. Chargers go home, right? Patriots were the favorite to win the game. Number 2 seed. Now you look at the next one, which is the Texans and the Steelers, which I saw it to be a much closer game, but I did pick the Texans to win. I saw it to be a much closer game because, first of all, the offense from Houston just has not been great, right? It just has not been great. The defense has been amazing. Rodgers been playing great last couple weeks. That Houston defense literally made Rodgers retire. I mean, when you got Will Anderson Jr., when you got Daniil Hunter rushing you at the same time, it's a scary thing. Then you got Al-Shaair. You got Tutu in the linebackers. Those guys are just moving everywhere, making tackles. Pierre in the safety spot with the guardian cap is going to freaking cause a traffic collision every time he sees a ball. That defense just comes to play. That defense is so good and so physical that they make sure your starter isn't going to be good for the next week. That's how good that defense is, right? Amongst the best, number 2 in the league in points allowed in the season behind, the Seattle Seahawks, right? But sure enough, Stroud fumbling the football, I believe 5 times, recovered it. The defense recovered it 3 times. And just didn't have a good game. Missing wide open passes, did get it going in the 3rd, 4th quarter, which was great to see, especially because, you want to see that from a guy like him. You want to see that from a team where the offense has been the only thing holding him back. And defense picked up a fumble, pick 6. Defense got 2 scorings on just defense, right? Offense did end up scoring toward the end of the game, ended up becoming a blowout 30-6, 37. So Houston versus Steelers, good game. I did see Houston winning the game. I would have thought it'd been a lot. I thought it would have been the teens. I didn't think it would be 30-6, but nonetheless, they won. So now we get into the bracket, which is gonna be interesting because you have I think the matchups are Patriots are gonna be at Houston. You have Houston at, let me double check real quick. Okay. So you have on the NFC, you have Seattle versus San Francisco. You have Chicago versus LA. AFC, you have Denver versus Bills, Patriots versus Texans. Now, for my predictions, this is where it's going to be crazy. Okay. Now, let's start with the AFC. Denver versus Buffalo, which is going to be a crazy game because Buffalo is favored, although I don't know why they would be favored because Denver has just a much better roster. Call me crazy. I'm going Buffalo. I'm going Buffalo to shock the world, beat the Broncos in Denver, in the Mile High City, in the Mile High Stadium, take them out, and advance to the AFC Championship. Patriots and Texans. This is where it gets crazy. Offensively, Patriots are just much better. Defensively, I think Texans are much better. Now, are the Patriots defense better than what the Houston offense is? And I think you can say yes. I really do believe you say yes. Defensively, the Patriots are great. They're not obviously top 3, but they're good. Houston's offense is obviously not top 3 at all. Their offensive line is atrocious. They're going against one of the best rushing 4 in the Patriots. And the question is, can CJ Stroud get going to make this game close? Because if he can't, it's going to be a long day for Houston. Patriots, can Drake May get it going? Because this Houston Texans team isn't going to allow you to blow it open at the end just how Chargers did. This Texans defense is going to make you run out of the pocket. But can you outrun Will Sanderson Jr.? Can you outrun Daniil Hunter? Drake May is going to have to showcase his footwork and his scrambling ability because is he going to shrink? Is he going to hold the football and go down? Or is he going to extend the play with his legs? I'm going with the Houston Texans to upset the New England Patriots in Foxborough. Give me Houston Texans to win this ball game 27-24 Houston. I'm sorry, no, 24-17 Houston. Buffalo and Denver. I mean, Buffalo winning. I'm going to go 27-21. 27-21. Give me Buffalo winning 27-21. Josh Allen has a great game, and that defense steps up again for Josh Allen. Now we go to the NFC side. We got Chicago versus the Rams, 2 versus the 5. Both sides of the conferences, both 1-6, 2-5. So I've seen a lot of teams picking the Chicago Bears to win because obviously they're going to Chicago. They got that offense, Caleb Williams. But when you look at it and you really dive into it, what does Chicago really do better than the Rams? Stafford's playing at a higher level than Caleb Williams is. No one's going to tell you otherwise. I mean, if they do, they're crazy. MVP front runner, right? You got arguably the better receiving tandem in Adams and Puka. Tight ends would definitely go to Chicago with Loveland. Defensively, it's not even close. It's not even close. It'd be laughable if you thought it was close. The Rams are just much better. Especially that front 4 gets to the quarterback much more often. Caleb Williams is going to see and feel something that I don't think he's felt in a minute, and that's going to be that Rams defense. Sean McVay is going to have those guys ready. The Rams secondary is a little suspect, but those linebackers too, Jared Verse, Young, they're just much better. That front 7 is just good, right? The defensive line, linebackers, great. Secondary, a little bit of help, but whatever. I have the Rams marching into Chicago, taking care of business, and walking into the NFC Championship. With the score of, I'm going to say this is a high-scoring game, 38-24 Rams. Okay, now we got Seattle versus San Francisco in Lumen Field in the great city of Seattle, even though I'm from LA. But hey, we're repping the Seahawks. You see, we're repping the Hawks. So this game is interesting because Fred Warner is practicing again. His open window for practice. Terrible shambles. His window for practice was opened by the head coach Kyle Shanahan, and obviously you're gonna have a chess match between Kyle Shanahan and Mike Macdonald. Now, Ken Cleas from the offensive coordinator from the Seahawks is also amongst the best in the offense, right? One of the best offensive coordinators. I mean, their ability to really keep Sam Darnold safe, right? Allowing him to get easy throws going and then opening the field up, right? Allowing the run game to open. He's just done a perfect job of not only masking Sam Darnold, but minimizing the deficiencies in Sam Darnold's game, minimizing the mistakes, maximizing the easy plays that would open the big plays, right? And that's what to me propels the Seahawks is their ability to just take care of the football, let Sam Darnold run the football game manage, and then that defense work. That defense is going to do most of that. Oh, excuse me. The defense is going to do most of the work. The defense is going to be putting in most of the work. The defense is going to be the one getting the quarterback. The defense is going to be one stopping the points. Seattle just got to put points on the board. Now, when you flip the script, San Francisco just lost George Kittle, one of the better weapons. So now they're left with Juwan Jennings, and if Ricky Pearsall comes back, which I don't know because that knee injury does seem very serious, and Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey last game couldn't get going, right? Purdy couldn't get going the last time they played, which was 2 weeks ago, 13-3 in Santa Clara. I see this game being a little competitive, but ultimately I do see Seattle kind of blowing it up in the second half as they are a second half team. I would say Seattle takes care of business in Lumen Fields, maintains home field advantage, and secures his victory 24-14 Seattle. Now we go on to we'll talk about the championships next week, right? But yeah, that's the division round for me. Denver gets upset in Denver. New England gets upset in Texans. So I'm taking the upsets in the AFC. I'm going to take LA to go into Chicago, walk them down, beat them up, and take a trip to Seattle, where Seattle is going to defend the home field advantage again in the NFC Championship against the rival, the Los Angeles Rams. So that's interesting. I think I'm going to get a lot of hate. Not hate, but I mean, call me crazy because I'm picking both 1 and 2 seeds to get knocked out in the AFC, but I've just seen too much. I won't bet against Josh Allen, as well as Texans. I won't bet against that defense. I mean, that defense hasn't lost a football game in, I think, 2 months. So call me crazy, but Drake May is going to be in a lot of car accidents, especially with that Texans defense, coming in and making sure that if New England does go into the next game, they're not going to go into that next game fully equipped. So now I did want to kind of hop into some college football, which I didn't really prepare notes for, but, hey, we'll wing it. Which was been interesting, I thought Ohio State was going to repeat, but they certainly did not repeat. They got knocked out in the quarterfinals to Miami, who is in the national championship now, going against Indiana. Hoosiers. So it's interesting. It really is, because I mean, Indiana's been winning the transfer portal. They have no 5-stars on that roster. They're just smashing teams left and right. I thought Oregon was going to upset. I really thought Oregon was going to put up a good fight. Certainly wasn't that. They got destroyed. They got blown out of the water early. And Indiana they're operating at a different level. Kurt Cignetti is probably the best coach of football, and I believe you can't really argue that. He's just that good and that efficient. And then you look at Miami, who's been getting away with these close games, but they've been going through, I want to say not easier, but they went through Ohio State, which was good. Ohio State was a good team. They beat Texas A&M, which was the 4 team. Indiana played Oregon, which was the 5, and they beat Alabama, who was, I believe, the 9. So, yeah, you got a lot of good games. You got Indiana. I mean, blowing out Alabama is nothing easy. You don't really see Alabama get blown out that bad. And there is some questions going on at Alabama with the head coaching position. But, I mean, there's just expectations that you got to realize that Kevin DeBoer, it's not that I'm saying his coaching ability is nowhere near Saban, but the expectation shouldn't be Saban. Saban's the all-time greatest head coach of all time. And we oftentimes criticize players or coaches for not filling in the shoes of the predecessor, but it's like with Tom Brady. You really expect Drake May to be Tom Brady the first year and win a Super Bowl or win 10 Super Bowls? No, that's Tom Brady. He's the greatest of all time. There's a reason why he's the greatest of all time. He separated himself from everybody. You can't expect that from these guys who haven't really made a name for themselves or haven't had that opportunity to. It's not saying Kevin DeBoer can't be a great coach. He can definitely be a great coach. He's just not going to be Nick Saban. And that's unfortunate for him, but it's just, he shouldn't be held to those standards, if that's what I'm trying to get to. But we're going to get to Indiana and Miami, where I have Indiana kind of blowing them out of the water. I have Indiana walking in, putting a good little showcase on Miami, the Hurricanes. Hurricanes might do good because that defense is solid. That defense is great, but Indiana plays 2 sides of football. That is great. I don't think Malachi Tony is going to get off the game that he wants to against them. Johnson is going to play. He has to play well. where Indiana has Fernando Mendoza, Heisman Mendoza. They have just guys left and right on that team who some guys are not even known, and they're balling that at a high level. Give me Indiana to win by at least 15. Yeah, I think Indiana's going to put a good stamp on the national championship. Keep raising the bar for college football and make the argument as one of the greatest teams of all time, because they definitely are up there. I'm not saying they are the best team of all time, but they definitely have an argument. So drifting away from football, we did want to cover some UFC stuff and some boxing events. We're not really going to break down too much because there's still a little bit ahead. But from a boxing schedule, we do got a little good boxing schedule coming around, right? We have Teofimo and Shakur Stevenson in 2 weeks, January 31st in New York, Madison Square Garden. Teofimo putting the belt on the line, WBO for the junior welterweight belt. We have on that same day in San Juan, Puerto Rico, you have Xander Zayas versus Abbas Baru. 12 rounds. There's a unification belt for both their titles, WBO and the WBA unification. And then next month we have Mario Barrios, Ryan Garcia for the Barrios WBC welterweight. We have Clarissa Shields, who's fighting in Detroit, and she's facing Franchon Cruz de Zorn in the 10 rounds for Shields' undisputed heavyweight belt. And then we have Manuel Navarrete versus Eduardo Nunez, I believe, yes, unification belt for the WBO and IBF junior lightweight titles. So we do got a good amount of fights going. You know, I believe there's another one. Let me look real quick. Callum Walsh is fighting in Las Vegas this week or next week. I'm sorry. Andy Cruz. Okay, this is a good fight. So we got a good fight here, and some people may not know because these aren't high names, I would say, but Raymond Murataya versus Andy Cruz for Murataya's IBF lightweight belt. So Andy Cruz, I believe gold medalist, came out of the amateurs. I don't even think he has 10 fights. He's hype has been through the roof, similar to Lomachenko, where Murataya has that good resume, good training, everything, but he's been known as one of the best in the lightweight division. This is going to be a great fight because Murataya, both guys are extremely young. Both guys are hungry. Murataya has been fiending for a belt because he hasn't been given the opportunity against Lomachenko, any of those guys. So this is a high-level fight. I think it'll be good. I'm going to pick Raymond Murataya to not upset because it's his belt, but I believe a lot of people are picking Andy Cruz. I'm picking Raymond Murataya to beat Andy Cruz in that fight, which is going to be next week. Maybe things might change, but I like Raymond Murataya a lot in this fight. He's just somebody who hasn't been given the credit he deserves and hasn't really been given the name. So it's going to be good. And also on the undercard of Teofimo Lopez and Shakur, you have Keyshawn Davis versus Jermaine Ortiz, which is interesting because Shakur Stevenson has came out and said that he will not fight his teammates or his friends, which Keyshawn Davis is. So if Shakur wins that belt, what is Keyshawn going to do? Are they just going to fight and then collect all the belts and just say, hey, one guy moves up, one guy gets them distributed? Possibility. And if Teofimo wins, Keyshawn's next in line, right? So it's going to be there's major implications, and best future for the division is if Teofimo wins, shocks the world, and then fights Keyshawn Davis right after in a great high-level match. There has been some history behind those two, which will, I'm sure, be brought to light and magnified a little bit better when they get down. So that's pretty much for the foreseeable future right now. Yeah, a lot of the other fights are kind of the distant, a month, 2 months ahead. Mosin Tuama recently, his fight got rescheduled for certain, I believe, surgery or whatever. But then I did want to kind of go into some UFC. So we do have UFC 324, where we have first Paramount card, which, I mean, if you guys haven't had Paramount Plus, you guys got to get it. $12 a month, and you got to watch any UFC fight you want, basically. So we have Justin Gaethje fighting Paddy Pimblett for the lightweight belt, interim belt, I'm sorry. We have bantamweight Sean O'Malley versus Song Yadong. We got Waldo Cortez Acosta versus Derek Lewis, which Waldo is kind of a surging contender in that division. And then Arnold Allen versus Gene Silva. Unfortunately, Kayla Harrison and Amanda needs to get canceled, as Kayla Harrison has to get, I believe, a herniated disc surgery repair, and that fight's going to be rescheduled. We don't know yet exactly what's going to happen with Amanda Nunes, but card should be pretty good. Cards going to be pretty good. The prelims card, let's see what we got. We got Umar Nurmagomedov versus Davison Figueiredo, which is going to be another great fight. I believe Umar's just going to hold him down and kind of maybe submit him. He's just great. Yeah, Umar is, in my opinion, going to be a future title holder if Piotr Jan loses the belt, because Piotr Jan is also very well, but Umar is obviously one of the best grapplers in that division. So that, I mean, we'll preview that card probably next week. Yeah, next week when we're closer to fight day, we get a little more details. Don't really want to say, oh, this guy's gonna win, and then we find out something happened, right? But I did have a little bit of some, not drama, but a little bit of unhappiness, unpleasure, concerns with the UFC. So we all seen that like the UFC has pretty much lacked the promotional aspect of the sport as it used, like not like it used to. And that's one thing that I just am very frustrated with as a fan, right? You look at it as a fan, you're getting these fights on Instagram lives announced, like, oh, I'm Dana White. Literally, Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett, interim belt. Emmanuel Nunez, Kayla Harrison. Like, who's gonna get excited for that, right? Like, no matter how much you hype it up, simple solution. You either at the event prior or at the couple events prior, you show like, I don't know if you guys remember UFC 200, I believe, when Brock Lesnar came back and then it was like, can you see me now? And he comes out and it was Brock Lesnar. That stuff gets people hyped. Why are we not having that anymore? We're lacking all that stuff. We want to see those promotional videos. We want to see those edits on TikTok. We want to see those edits on Instagram. We want to see all those edits on social media where, oh shoot, those guys are fighting? Oh shoot, oh hell yeah. And I'm not sure if you guys remember, I mentioned this a little bit while ago with Tom Aspinall because I didn't think Tom Aspinall was getting the rightful promotion and advertising he should have got. But when you guys remember Conor McGregor when he fought Jose Aldo, there was a promo, which honestly I think was probably one of the greatest promos ever. He's walking into Vegas with a crowd of people behind him, the flags waving big, and who's on the opposite side of him? Jose Aldo, walking in with the title, both guys in fresh suits, sunglasses. Jose Aldo has a little swagger in him. Conor McGregor, Mystic Mac walking in, the Notorious. Fans behind him with the flags waving. You had Kanye West's song in the background. You're just like, oh my God, I need to watch this fight today. I'm excited. This is amazing. You get those guys facing off. Instead, we're getting, hey, here, White House card, McGregor and Jose Aldo or whatever. McGregor and Michael Chandler, whatever. Hell no. I want to see a type of edit where, and if somebody sees it out there and makes an edit the way I'm seeing it, like I'll give you $10. I'll sell you. I want to see an edit where it has McGregor or Chandler after that Tony Ferguson fight, when he's like, Conor McGregor, you gotta come back and fight somebody. I am the most entertaining fight, and then you just have McGregor in the background where he's saying that you ask and you shall receive, and it just cuts to the edit to them too, like about a fight. You ask the edit to them in the Ultimate Fighter series. You just get all that stuff built in, and you're like, oh my God, I'm excited. This fight, look at this fight got announced. I'm watching the video. I'm not just hearing words and words. I'm watching both fighters. I'm watching the energy. I'm watching the personalities come out. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for McGregor's personality. We're looking for Chandler's just hype, that testosterone through the roof. That's what we're looking for. We're not looking for Dana White reading off a paper saying, oh yeah, that's the fight we're going to have in next year. No, I want to see both guys. I want to see their highlights in it. I want to see everything. You want to see that, right? And that's what the UFC's lacking. They're just lacking the promoting. And unfortunately, who's the one that are bearing the cost? The fighters, because they're not getting known anymore, right? McGregor transcended the sport. There's never going to be another Conor McGregor. And that's the big misconception with a lot of these fighters and a lot of journalists. They're saying, oh, we need another McGregor. We need another. No, McGregor was, yes, a hot free agent because of his mouth. But the UFC wasn't in the point that it was in right now. The UFC has grown past fighters. Back then, the fighters were the UFC. Now the UFC is above all the fighters. So you cannot have one fighter transcend your sport anymore. It's just not at that level. The magnitude is too high. Now, the company that's bigger than the fighters has to promote the fighters. Sean O'Malley, perfect example. I believe when he won, They released this fight the day after on YouTube, free. Crazy, the stoppage. Promote these guys. You have guys who are just killers in that locker room, who are just waiting for opportunities. Press conferences, they don't got to be 10 minutes. Make them 40 minutes, 30 minutes. Get those questions going where they're fighters, they're killers. They're waiting for questions about the fight. They're waiting to ask, hey, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And then you get the blood boiling. And then at the end of the day, it's all respect. These guys don't hate each other. You get very few fights where there's genuine hate. Colby Covington's Masvidal, Colby Covington, Poirier. You got, yeah, those are actual hatred fights. Those guys hate each other, not going to rekindle after that. But you get guys who talk trash, and at the end they're gonna respect each other no matter what because they know it's part of business. Then make and elevate that. Bring that side of the business back into the business and mainstream. Bring the, oh my God, these fools hate each other, right? These fools hate each other. I want to see them get down. And then when they get down, then it's respect. And you're like, you know what? That's good. They got down. They got a scrap going. That's respect. But we're losing the whole build up to the fight because it's just, oh, on social media. Oh, you have a press conference the week of the fight. What? These big fights got to have multiple press conferences. These big fights got to have that. McGregor, Aldo, I keep going back to it. And I know it's an unfair comparison, an analogy in a way, because McGregor was at such a big point already. But world tour press conferences. Take Charles Oliveira and Max Holloway. Take them to Hawaii. Take them to Brazil. Take them build that fight. Build it. Charles Oliveira is a national phenomenon. He's an international phenomenon. Everybody loves him. Everybody loves him. Build the fight, right? You build Charles Oliveira. You don't just, hey, Charles Oliveira, you're already famous. Promote the fight on your own. No, we're going to take you to guys to Brazil. And I understand that it might interfere with training camps. And that's where you kind of have to have a conversation with each other. And communication comes into play. But Charles Oliveira, hey, press conference in Brazil. And then a month later, hey, we're doing a press conference in Hawaii. Oh, yeah. Hawaii, baby. Could you imagine all the people for Max Holloway in Hawaii? You would be dumb to think people wouldn't show up. And then you obviously have the final press conference with all the fighters in the card. The White House card, they should have multiple press conferences. And whenever Ilya Topuria fights again, if he fights a guy like Paddy Pimblett, if Paddy Pimblett beats Justin Gaethje, you have to do a press conference in London and in Spain. No questions. I don't care where that fight takes place. That could take place in New York. It could take place in Mexico for all they give a damn. That fight needs to have a press conference in England and in Spain. You want both those guys to be hated in that country. Obviously, you're going to protect them and have security, obviously, but we're not going to get into that. But you want to feel like Paddy be like, you know what, yeah, like I'm the enemy here. I'm the villain. And then when they go to Spain, Topuria is loved and beloved. Yeah, Topuria, you're the guy. Then when they go to London, everybody's gonna hate freaking Poirier, and it builds the fight because you get these moments. You get moments that are clipped, and it's just nothing but excitement, but energy, but not hatred, but competitiveness, right? You get ambitious, like, damn, I want to be a part of that. I want to freaking see that. You get people who set goals, and you get journalists who get there, who ask the proper questions. You get the fans involved. The fans are what build these fights. When you saw, I don't know about you guys, but one of my favorite moments at a press conference was when they asked him, does Tom Aspinall fight the winner of Stipe Miocic and John Jones? And he's like, yes, the winner should absolutely fight Tom Aspinall. And the crowd blows up, and everybody's like, yeah, clipped, put everywhere. Builds fights, guys. I mean, it's a simple fix. Just promote the fight better. Yes, it costs money, but you're going to get money. And that's the big thing that needs to be discussed and brought to the table. Unfortunately, is it going to happen? I don't know. Maybe for the White House card, one card out of the year. I don't know. But that's just my simple little rant and venting about the cold card. And yeah, I think that's time, guys. I think we're about 50 minutes, hopefully. Probably a little less because I'm going to edit some stuff. But I mean, yeah, it went pretty quick. I loved it. I actually loved every minute of this one. Thank you guys a lot for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. If somebody makes that edit of, Michael Chandler saying, Conor McGregor, and you just see, like, it echoes, right? Picture this, guys. Close your eyes and picture this. Where Michael Chandler's like, Conor McGregor, and it just echoes, and you just see Conor McGregor, like, walking out of the darkness, right? And then Chandler is like, you gotta come back and fight somebody. I am the most entertaining fighter in the world. And you just have, like, McGregor, like, looking up. and then you have the Irish song that he would play in the background, like starting to subtly just rise. And then when you say "God bless you" at the top, boom, you puncture McGregor, and that's when you have McGregor come out, and you have one of those famous catchphrases like "Who the heck is this guy?" Or oh, I like the everybody up here wants to be like me, everybody wants to dress like me, everybody knows I'm the guy, like something like that, and then you just boom, you put him highlights of his career, then you have Chandler's highlights, and it becomes a whole freaking thing. You show clips of the White House, you show the American flag, you show the Irish flag. Oh my goodness gracious, that's the best edit of all time, right? I'm just messing with you guys. But if somebody does make that edit and it can make it pretty good, $10 automatic Zelle. So that's it for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this week's episode of the podcast. We will be back next week to talk about some NFC, AFC championships. Hopefully, I'm not heartbroken. Go Hawks today if you're a Niners fan. I don't care. See you guys at the next one. Thank you guys so much. God bless you guys all. Peace and love. Later.